places. There's no excuse. You've been loosed.
This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I am the host on this podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspectives, Spiritual Truths. We have been on an amazing journey that we're going to keep on track with learning, growing together as one, as we provoke thought, bring awareness, and point our nation, us collectively, as we the people, us flowing together as one towards interventions about making our nation great, making America great, as represented by our flag and our beautiful presidential seal. We have been encouraging everyone, and I think we're 1 week away from the call to the Capitol, April the 13th, where we're going to be gathering for prayer, fasting, prayer, communion at all the capitals all over the nation. We're uniting in peace and unity, standing in the gap. If you want to be a part of getting your prayer hub and register, we need you to register so we have an idea of exactly how many people will be there. Go to hashtag Don't Mess With Our Kids. You can get a lot of information there. If you don't remember that, you can go to info@janicepons.com. I will help you to get connected with how to form a prayer hub, connecting you with who you need to be connected with to get that done, as well as encouraging you towards the next event will be going to the Washington Federal Mall on October the 12th, 2024. And I'm going to go ahead and make you aware of this. I'm doing a Janice Pons prayer tour at that time. And we're going to be going, we got October the 12th on the Washington Federal Mall, but we're going up there October the 8th. We're going to do a historical prayer tour. We're going to Gettysburg. Go on janicepons.com. When you go on the homepage, you'll see everything you need to know. You have to be registered by May the 1st. Those spots are just being taken up pretty fast. It is a powerful encounter. Actually, when you go on that prayer tour with me, it's going to be an investment in yourself. I've been before. This will be my third one. Absolutely life-changing. The people that went last year, they were just so blessed. We were so blessed. It was so powerful. So God put it on my heart to go up to being on the Washington Federal Mall on October the 12th, that we actually do a prayer tour for a few days leading up to that being the culminating event. So to go to janicepons.com. If you're interested in the prayer tour, get your spot. You have to be registered, the initial registration by May the 1st, and then paying on that entire 6-day trip where it covers the hotel, the food. Amazing, amazing encounters that we're going to have. We're going to be in all kind of strategic places praying leading up to October 12th. So if you want that, and it's a limited amount of space, and spaces are people are getting them. So go there. So, we're just excited because we want we have 210 million Christians in our great nation. We want each person to be at the Washington Federal Mall. We've got our state capitals next week, April 13th and October 12th, the Washington Federal Mall. If you want to go with me on the Janice Pons prayer tour starting October 8th up to the 13th, where I will get you back to the airport so you can get back home, please go to janicepons.com so you can get registered for that. And, I'm going to really be pushing all this on the podcast as we go forth leading up to our presidential election in November, because the podcast is where a lot of action is going on here. And I just want to encourage you on the podcast, those who are coming here on janicepons.com, share this information with at least 10 believers, 10 Christians. I know you know Christians, your associates, your friends, your family. And when the thousand, it's more now. When if at least 1,000 people share it with 10 people, we'll have 10,000 people. Those 10,000 share it with 10 people, we will have 100,000 people. When those 100,000 people share it with 10 people, we will have our 1 million voices arising on the Washington Federal Mall. And you'll be there with me and all of these other amazing Americans from all over the nation who we're going to be there together. So this podcast is going to be pushing that because this is an instrument, a platform where we can unite together. And if you want to have our podcast live on your Facebook group, drop me a line at info@janicepons.com so I can connect with you to regularly schedule a live telecast in your group. It's already shown in some other groups. So we're excited about that. So listen, April 13th, state capitals. Yeah. And October the 12th, Washington Federal Mall, the Janice Pons Prayer Tour, October 8th through the 13th. It's going to be amazing. I can't even begin. Just go on there, janicepons.com, and you can get more information about that. So let's continue our journey about our great nation. Tonight, we're going to talk about, we're just understanding the intricacies of our nation. And tonight, we're going to talk about the president and the presidential cabinet and where is the money for it all to operate. And from a clinical perspective, we're going to talk about parents developing mentally strong children because those strong children become adults and we want our America to be strong. Yes, yes, yes. Make America great. Yes. And so let's dive into the intricacies of what it involves to make our nation great. My fellow Americans, my brothers and sisters, week after week, we've been on an amazing journey together of understanding our nation and how it was set up and how it's set up to work. I respectfully submit that we are so off track right now. Yes, we are. That if we don't get strategic with solution-focused problem solving, we will miss a major opportunity to totally turn our country around for massive improvements. I'm believing for the massive improvements, and I know how to get us there, and so do other people. Now, let's keep going. Currently, we're on a path that is unsustainable. Yes, it is. Basic logic and deductive reasoning makes that path plain and clear. Let's look at some basic facts again. Last week, we examined the numbers together. We clearly laid out the following. In the last 8 years, from 2016 to 2023, America collected $30.2 trillion in tax revenue. We did that together, guys. We the people. Now, let us break that down into incremental parts for our understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. But in all thy wisdom, get understanding. Let's get some understanding together. Tax revenues collected from working Americans. This is what has occurred over the last 8 years. Remember, we're framing some things. Stick with me. In 2016, the past 8 years, 2016, we collected $3.3 trillion. We did that. Came from our checks, straight from our paychecks, but it totaled $3.3 trillion in 2016. 2017, $3.3 trillion. 2018, $3.3 trillion tax revenues. 2019, $3.6 trillion. 2020, $3.4 trillion. 2021, $4 trillion. 2022, $4.9 trillion. 2023, last year, we collected in tax revenues, $4.4 trillion. Yes, we did. This totals $30.2 trillion over the past 8 years. Now, remember, we the people have a viable working strategy, a plan to save our great nation. We can do this. We have to drill some things in. I'm going to be saying certain things because this is how we're going to get there. So we have to help the legislative branch of our government know that we're going to hold them to task for this amazing, viable solution for our great nation. Remember, they work for us. We pay their salary. All the perks, all the freebies come from our paychecks. Now, this is what's going to happen. Remember, we propose that all Americans, not just the 265,900,000. Remember, it's increased by 25,900,000 in 6 months. 6 months ago, I was saying 240 million. It's increased. That are living paycheck to paycheck, barely can make ends meet, trying to figure out how to put food on the table. It's increased. True story. What are we going to do about it? Everybody in our great nation. We're proposing all Americans pay 8.55% on personal federal income tax. 8.55%. 8.55% be paid on corporate business taxes. 8.55% be paid on excise taxes. All Americans pay the same rate for 8 years. That is right, an 8-year moratorium to turn a great nation around. We've got to do something different. This is what would happen regarding the tax revenues in the coming 8 years. These are real numbers. I have looked at statistics and data. Here's what would happen. 2025, we're talking about from 2025 to 2032, every working American being on the same page. If you're disabled, it's a different story. We understand your situation, baby. But we're talking about the people that work. No matter what you make, us together turning this nation around. 2025, we would have tax revenue of $7.5 trillion. 2026, $7.8 trillion. 2027, $8.1 trillion. 2028, $8.4 trillion. 2029, $8.8 trillion. 2030, $9.1 trillion. 2031, $9.5 trillion. 2032, $9.9 trillion. This totals $69.1 trillion of tax revenue being collected over 8 years. Us deciding we're going to buckle down and take care of this issue. From 2025 to 2032. Taxing productivity and consumption over the next 8 years, 2025 to 2032, at 8.55%, will generate $69.1 trillion. And guess what? It will eliminate, totally get rid of, yes, our national deficit of $34.1 trillion and even cover our $4.9 trillion tax collections in this year of 2024. Is that strategic or what? So here's the bottom line. We can keep doing the same thing, which equates to insanity. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and it never happens. Or we can buckle down as responsible, mature, solution-focused problem solvers who are proud to be Americans and save our great nation and therefore set our posterity up for success. Understanding how our great nation is set up to work is incredibly significant. It brought so much understanding and insight to me as I've been on this journey. And as I'm coming to you and sharing with you what I've learned as I've researched has been amazing. For me to go, oh my God, I didn't know this. Let me talk about it. Let's dive in together as we dissect the inner workings of our nation. We understand the executive branch of our government, the executive. We got legislative, we got judicial. The executive is the president. Now, he has a cabinet. Let's look at it. The president's cabinet is made of 15 leaders of executive departments. This advisory body is appointed by the president and confirmed by the United States Senate. The heads of these departments are also fundamental to the presidential line of succession because after the vice president, Speaker of the House, and Senate President pro tempore. The succession goes down the line of cabinets, starting with the departments that were created first. These cabinets include, listen to the positions. I didn't know all these details. I know now. Listen, the Department of Agriculture. It provides leadership on food, agriculture, natural resources, rural development, nutrition, and related issues based on public policy, the best available science, and effective management. We have the Department of Commerce, works with businesses, universities, communities, and the nation's workers to promote job creation, economic growth, sustainable development, and improve standards of living for we the people, for Americans. The Department of Defense provides the military forces needed to deter war and to protect the security of the United States, all enemies, both foreign and domestic. The Department of Education establishes policy for, administers, and coordinates most federal assistance to education. We have the Department of Energy, responsible for advancing the energy, environmental, and nuclear security of the United States, promoting scientific and technological innovation in support of that mission, sponsoring basic research in the physical sciences, and ensuring the environmental cleanup of the nation's nuclear weapons complex. We also have the Department of Health and Human Services. These are cabinets. This is a part of the inner workings of America. The Department of Health and Human Services enhance the health and well-being of all Americans, promoting the sciences, the underlying medicine, public health, and social services. We have the Department of Homeland Security, focuses on our safety works to improve the security of the United States. The department's work includes customs, border, and immigration enforcement, emergency response to natural and man-made disasters, anti-terrorism work, and cybersecurity. Wow, you think these things are important? I'm not done. We have other cabinet departments. The Department of Housing and Urban Development. It administers programs that provide housing and community development assistance. The department also works to ensure fair and equal housing opportunity for all. Department of Interior manages public lands and minerals, national parks, and wildlife refuges, and upholds federal trust responsibilities to Indian tribes and Native Alaskans. Additionally, Interior is responsible for endangered species conservation and other environmental conservation efforts. Then we have the Department of Justice. You see how our nation is set up, guys? Listen, the Department of Justice enforces the law and is supposed to enforce the law, and defend the interests of the United States according to the law, to ensure public safety against threats, foreign and domestic, to provide federal leadership to preventing and controlling crime, to seek just punishment for those guilty of unlawful behavior, and to ensure fair and impartial administration of justice for all Americans. Then we've got the Department of Labor. It administers federal labor laws to guarantee workers' rights to be fair, safe, and healthy, to have working conditions that are of that nature, including minimum hourly wages and overtime pay, protection against employment discrimination, and unemployment insurance. Then we have the State Department, the Department of State. It advises the president and leads the nation in foreign policy issues. The State Department negotiates treaties and agreements with foreign entities and represents the United States at the United Nations. We have the Department of Transportation, responsible for planning and coordinating federal transportation projects. It also sets safety regulations for all major modes of transportation. We have the Department of the Treasury, operates and maintains systems that are critical to the nation's financial infrastructure, such as the production of coin and currency, the disbursement of payments to the American public, revenue collection, and the borrowing of funds necessary to run the federal government. Then, lastly, we have the Department of Veteran Affairs. Do you see, man, I learned this and I said, my God, there's a lot that we're undergirding and supporting. The Department of Veteran Affairs, responsible for administering benefit programs for veterans. I'm a Blue Star mom. You know this got my attention. Their families and their survivors. These benefits include pension, education, disability compensation, home loans, life insurance, vocational rehabilitation, survivor support, medical care, and burial benefits. Let's continue to get understanding of the intricacies of our nation. There's something called the Federal Reserve System. Stick with me. The Federal Reserve System is the central bank of the United States. It performs 5 general functions to promote the effective operation of the U.S. economy and, more generally, the public interest. A lot of people say things about the Federal Reserve, but listen at this. The Federal Reserve conducts the nation's monetary policy to promote maximum employment, stable prices, and moderate long-term interest rates in the U.S. economy, promotes the stability of the financial system, and seeks to minimize and contain systemic risk through active monitoring and engagement in the United States and abroad, promotes the safety and soundness of individual financial institutions, and monitors their impact on the financial system as a whole, monitors payment and settlement system safety and efficiency through services to the banking industry. A lot of banks. And the U.S. government that facilitates U.S. dollar transactions and payments and promotes consumer protection and community development through consumer-focused supervision and examination, research and analysis of emerging consumer issues and trends, community economic development activities, and the administration of consumer laws and regulations. There's a lot going on in our nation. Then we've got something called the decentralized system structure and its philosophy. Let's look at that. We're getting an understanding of our nation. In establishing the Federal Reserve System, the United States has divided geographically. I didn't know this, but listen, divided geographically our nation into 12 districts, each with a separately incorporated reserve bank. District boundaries were based on prevailing trade regions that existed in 1913 and related economic considerations, so they do not necessarily coincide with state lines. Listen to the regions. It's 12 of them. Boston, Massachusetts. New York, New York. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I didn't know this. I'm like, wow. Cleveland, Ohio. Richmond, Virginia. Atlanta, Georgia. Chicago, Illinois. St. Louis, Missouri. Minneapolis, Minnesota. Kansas City, Missouri. Dallas, Texas. San Francisco, California. Woo! Wow. This helped me to understand a lot of things. All these dynamics speak loudly regarding how we have to pay attention. Out of the 15 different cabinet positions in the presidential cabinet, which one is the most important, needed, and is dire in terms of our attention? The military? The treasury? Do we have to have our military working? Do we have to have our treasury functional? Logic and deductive reasoning makes it very clear, listen, my fellow Americans, that if we don't do something different, we're going to be in some serious trouble because we got 15 cabinets that have to be funded. We have to do something different, and we have to do it now. The time is now. Listen, I've laid out some facts tonight. It's a lot. I know. But we got the executive branch, the president, and we got a cabinet. And right now, it looks like they just passed some huge spending bill here a few weeks ago, and a huge part of it just went towards the military. Look at all those other 50. What about the other 13? We are going to be dissecting these intricacies more as we move forward. Now, all of this speaks to the need for us all to be mentally strong. Yes. We need our children to be mentally strong. You know, I'm into the children. When we go to the state capitals, when we go to the Washington Federal Mall, we're focused on our children. We want them to be mentally strong. So our clinical perspective is empowering and just thinking about how parents can develop mentally strong children. For centuries, maintaining physical health has been a main priority, and it's important. Alternatively, there has been a lot of research that shows that being mentally strong is just as important. However, most people have very little understanding of the tools and the mechanisms to help ensure mental fortitude. We just hear, just exercise every day, 30 minutes of walking 3 to 4 times a week. Physically will keep you strong, keep you physically strong. There's mental strength as well. Now, we're going to look at a design for being mentally strong. Most people have heard of Abraham Maslow. He's a renowned psychologist and philosopher. He was a brilliant man, yes. He developed a hierarchy of needs that represents a visual aid for the things that motivate human behavior. It's really pretty interesting how it really fits. 3 of the 5 categories are closely related to the mental aspect of a happy and a healthy life. The concepts cover basics for developing relationships, confidence, and security. You think those things are important with our children? Relationship building, confidence, and security. According to a number of studies that have been conducted over decades, it's become clear to human development experts how these basics correlate to children becoming mentally strong adults. It starts when they're children. Yes. Simply put, when they have parents who support and meet the hierarchy needs, they're going to be strong children, and they will develop into mentally strong adults. Many people grew up with parents whose methods were just tough love, thereby continuing an endless cycle of incidental damage because it wasn't balanced. As a result, few have the ability to decipher their own complex emotions. They can't even put a language to it. They can't. I deal with it all the time. I've seen it for 44 years now, let alone give future generations the tools to do so. They cuss, they throw, they destroy. They don't have even an emotional vocabulary. Let's keep going. Now, let's break down some concepts here. Listen, bottom line, here's what's going to help make them strong mentally. Validate their feelings. Stop telling people to shut up. Shut up, be quiet, boy. Validate their feelings. Hear what they got to say. Although it's most people's first reaction to shy away from visibly feeling strong emotions, allowing children to feel them and process them is the best thing for them. Giving children the freedom to observe, then grow to understand their own emotions will help them become mentally strong in adulthood. Stands to reason, huh? Sometimes children have a tendency to lash out at or become violent. Why? Towards others. They're expressing their emotions. They don't know how to do it appropriately, ladies and gentlemen. They don't. In these cases, saying something like, well, you know what? It's okay that you're just not feeling okay. What we want you to do is to not express it by throwing things. Reinforce them working through things while still discouraging violent behavior. Listen to them. All right? We also need to discipline them. Yes, we do. This will make them mentally strong. This has become kind of controversial in the time that we're in now in our society, but kids need both encouragement and structure. While children should never be made to feel ashamed for making a mistake, highlighting their actions and talking about better ways to handle the situation in the future can have long lasting effects. Furthermore, gentle and loving discipline teaches them self awareness, empathy, and self regulation. A lot of times people, they don't know how to self regulate, but it can be learned. So, nurturing self esteem and encouraging healthy self talk is important. Children need to believe in themselves to become mentally strong adults. Reflecting with them a few minutes a day about what is it that they love about themselves. If they can't come up with anything, you help them. Speak into the core of their being, what you admire about them, the skills they want to be better at to boost their self-esteem. And you can help to create environments where it just simply unfolds. Woo, this is powerful stuff, guys. I've seen what happens when children are thirsty and parched for this, and their lives totally turn around. Yes, and they become powerful leaders. I was one of them. Yes. Growing up in Jim Crow, we didn't get it. But there were people that came across my path that started pouring into me in specific kinds of ways. And things shifted. Yes, I'm grateful. Helping children to practice and improve on these skills gives them a deep sense of accomplishment. Yes, it does. It teaches them personal responsibility as well, being purposeful. To teach children personal responsibility is powerful. Learning to understand what may have caused a mistake will help prevent that mistake from happening in the future. Yes, it will. However, that can't be done if children don't have the opportunity to recognize their errors, which requires a sense of personal responsibility. Listen, how can we help them to get mentally strong? Reframing negatives into positives. Yes, we want to learn how to reframe some things, touching on the aforementioned things. Healthy self-talk is teaching kids to replace negativity with uplifting thoughts. Can look like a few things will ultimately build a foundation for them being mentally strong adults. Yes. One example may be to encourage them to learn from others. Another may be as a reminder of their own strengths. Rehearse it. Let them say it. It's easy to feel jealous or in competition with others, but it can build strength as we're supporting with one another. Allow them to feel uncomfortable, while this won't sit well with some people, okay? It's necessary for personal growth, allowing children to feel sad and disappointed and work through it and process their feelings, suggesting compromise. Listen, it's going to teach them to be well-adjusted. It's not a compromise. It's teaching them how to walk through things because, after all, you can't always get what you want. No. Teach them gratitude. Yeah. When children learn how to take time to reflect on the good and be kind, can give children a sense of how good it feels to be a contributing part to a world that they can participate in making it beautiful. Listen, remember, they're still learning. Yeah. It can be incredibly frustrating to tell your child not to do something, but they can look straight in your face and you look in theirs, and they can do it anyway. However, they can only learn a small portion of some information when certain things are repeated and you process it. Therefore, they can, bottom line here's what I'm saying. They can learn from mistakes, understanding the error, process it, talk about it. Lastly, we want to carry on the serenity. Listen, be patient with your child. Be patient with yourself. What would happen if we encourage children to become mentally strong adults, taking time to walk through lessons together along the way. Take a deep breath. Encourage your child to do so. Work together. Come up with healthy habits and coping mechanisms. You know, I'm always talking about strategy, skills, and tools. What have we looked at tonight? We're talking about our great nation. We're talking about the president's cabinet. We're talking about there's not enough money to cover all 15 positions of that cabinet. You got the people that lead it and the operations thereof. And we're talking about mentally strong kids. Listen, we're going to continue on this journey of forming a more perfect union. Us flowing together as one, stopping these destructive patterns, because God has answers and he wants to use me. He wants to use you as we go together from destruction to dignity. I will see you next week. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
Education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation. A new nation. We are God empowered. Strength is ours. Liberty, been set free. Education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation.